Hi guys, I'm Jen Johns. Welcome back to the show. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an adorably cute garden themed cake. It's a double layered chocolate cake filled with chocolate buttercream and topped with adorable crops of veggies and fruit. I've partnered up with the creators of the app Farm Heroes Super Saga to bring you this tutorial. Farm Heroes Super Saga is a game I've been playing for a while now, and I'm so excited to show you how to make this cake. The mission in the game is to grow the biggest super cropsies, win the country show, and stop the nasty rancid raccoon from ruining everyone's good time at the country show. To play the game, you have to match 3 of the same cropsies together for points, but the best part though is that you can get huge points if you match up 4 cropsies in a square to create a super cropsy. The app is a free download and the link is in the description box. Thanks to King, the developers of Farm Heroes Super Saga, we're giving away an iPad Air. The contest is open worldwide, and the person with the highest score on level 11 will win. Rules and the link to the entry are in the description box. The contest closes on July 29th, and you'll be notified by email if you are the lucky winner. Now, let's get started on this really cute cake tutorial. To make the cake, we're going to be using 2 pre-made 9 by 13 inch chocolate cakes. Now into this chocolate cake, I mixed some Oreos that were cut up and I mixed some chopped pecans to give it a little bit more texture like you might find in an actual garden. Over here, I've got some chocolate buttercream. We're also going to need some vanilla buttercream colored green. The recipe for the 2 buttercreams and the chocolate cake will be in the description box for you. Here I've got some chopped up Oreos. I used a mini food processor just to chop those ones up. Down here in front I have some little mini pre-made flowers. And here I have a whole bunch of different colors of fondant that we're going to be using to make the cropsies and covering the cake. I've got blue, purple, red, orange, yellow, white, a dark brown, and then 3 shades of green, a light green to cover the whole cake, a dark green for the little bushes, and then the light green or the lime green is for one of the cropsies. So what I've done now is I put my chocolate buttercream into a piping bag, and I'm just going to cover the top of the cake here. I'm just going around the outside first, and I'm trying to stay away from the outside just slightly because when it spreads out, it will cover that area up, and I don't want to have so much that it bulges out the sides. Now I'm going to be using an offset spatula to smooth this on, and when you're decorating this cake, you could add some more of the chopped Oreos and the nuts into this buttercream layer if you wanted to add a little bit more texture, but since there's so much in the actual cake, I'm not going to worry about that part. So just get that nice and smoothed on top and make sure you've leveled off both of your cakes. Once you have the middle filled here, what I'm going to do is take my second layer and just flip it over top here. You can remove anything. I had this wax paper I was baking it with. There we go, take that off. And then I'm going to cover the whole rest of the cake in chocolate buttercream. So once I've got this all covered up, I'll be back. Once the cake is covered in the chocolate buttercream, I've also rolled out my fondant here on a fondant mat. And all I'm going to do is pick up my fondant mat and I'm going to basically unceremoniously flop the fondant over top of the cake like this. And then I'm just going to make sure that it's covering the cake all the way around. And we've got just a little bit of movement there, like that. And then I'm going to roll up my mat here and just let the fondant kind of fall back into place where it would be. And then using a fondant smoother, I'm just going to press it down the sides and cut the edges. And if you end up with any nicks or something, the fun thing about this one is that it's going to be covered entirely with little bushes and stuff. So anything that you have as an imperfection, you don't have to worry about. We can cover it up. So I've rolled out some brown fondant here, and then I've just squared the edges. And what I've got here is just 2-inch intervals marked. I just used it by poking a little hole with a toothpick there. And I'm just lining up my ruler and using a pizza cutter. You can use a fondant cutter or you could use a knife, something that you can just cut a nice straight line with. And what I'm going to be doing is this is going to be the pathway that's on the top of the garden cake. Now this long one here, I want to be 8 inches in length. So I'm just going to mark that there to cut off. And then the next one is the next 2 actually are going to be 5.5 inches in length. So I'll just mark the end there of these 2 like that. Now this and I'll finish cutting those ones off. Now this extra piece right here, I'm going to use this little fondant square, this is a piece of cardboard, and I'm going to be cutting it out 4 times. And this is 4 inches by 2.5 inches. So just using a knife, I'm just going to just use that guideline there just to cut it out. And these are going to be like where the cropsies are going to be sitting on top of the cake. So I need to make 4 of those. Once we have all of the brown pieces cut out, I've got my green fondant laid out here, and I'm going to be using a slightly smaller piece of cardboard for a template, and this one is 2 inches by 3.5 inches. So we're just going to cut out 4 of these as well. So just using my pizza cutter here, and you just want to make sure you've got 4 of those. And then what I'm also going to be doing is taking a round cutter. Now you can use different sizes of round cutters, and these are going to be made for the bushes that we're going to put along the bottom of the cake. So just pushing into that fondant there. And then because I want to be able to add some texture to it, I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm just going to snip at the fondant like this, just to give it a little bit of texture for the bushes. And then I also want to do it to the rectangle pieces that I'm cutting out as well, because those are the ones that are going to sit on top of the brown that we cut out and where the cropsies are going to be sitting. So now we're going to work on making the cropsies, and they're the cutest part of the cake. So what I've got here is some white fondant laid out, and then I'm just going to take a flower cutter, and this is going to be for the flower cropsy. So I'm just taking that flower cutter. And now I find that the plastic cutters leave a little bit of edging to the fondant. So you want to make sure that you take a tool of some sort and like clean up your edges to make sure that your flower doesn't look all raggedy. So I'm just using the tool like this. And then you can also use your fingers, which I find are almost more effective when you're kind of working with fondant, could get it to do what you want to. So I'm just going to take my fingers and kind of pinch that extra fondant away from the edges there. And to my left, what I have is a flower former, and I'm going to put the flower into the flower former, and that's going to give it some shape. So I'm just going to finish up these little edges here. Just want to get into those little divots. So you want to clean that up as best as you can, and then pop it into the flower former. Now you can leave that flower former in there overnight. You can leave the flour in there in the former overnight, or you can add some Tylose or use gum paste for this part of the project. I want to take a little bit of my yellow fondant and just roll that into a little ball, and I'm going to pop it onto the top of the little flower here. So I'm just going to take a dab of water, put it into the center there, and I'm just going to flatten this little yellow piece out and then press it into the top there to help that fondant, or to give it that look of the flower cropsy. So you set that to the side, and we're going to work on our little cropsies now, the vegetables and the fruit. So what I've got here is my lime green. Now if your fondant has been sitting for a while, you want to make sure you warm it up and you get it working again. So it might get like a little crust to it, and you just want to make sure you eliminate those little crusts and bumps. So I'm just working this pear shape, because this is the pear cropsy. And so I've left the bottom nice and round, and I'm bringing that top around to be kind of like a little bit skinnier. You can work it like that. And then I'm just going to set it here, and it can dry there like that. We're going to need to add eyes and the little top to it as well. Now I'm moving on to the banana cropsy. And so I'm working that fondant. I can feel that it's a little bit dry. Just want to make sure I've got it nice and warm. Now with this one, I'm going to make it a little bit more oblong here. And I'm just going to pinch it around here and just make it that banana shape. The banana shaped cropsy is like really, really fat. It's fatter than you would normally find a banana. So you just want to make sure that you kind of mimic exactly what they've done in the game. So we've got that banana shaped. It's almost shaped like a cashew actually. So that's kind of a shape you could think of. Now to the carrot one. Warming up that carrot, or that orange fondant here. And then I'm going to roll it out into, I just want to work it a little bit more. Like that heat from your hands is all you really need. And I'm just going to pinch it up to be like the shape of a carrot. And these are nice, like little chubby little characters here, little cropsies. So I'm working that up, just flatten it down on the bottom so you get that flat top. Work it up like that. Now I'm going to just roll that edge there, lay that down. Now with my veining tool, I'm going to take my veining tool and I'm just going to mark, and what I'm just doing is just etching in that little extra dimension to the cropsy to give it that more look that you'll see in the actual game. So I'm just adding a little bit of dimension to it, giving it that little bit of look. Now I'm going to set that to the side up there at the top, and I'm going to work now on the water cropsy. So the water cropsy and the carrot cropsy are pretty much the same shape, but I want the water one to be a little bit more pointed than the carrot one. Just gonna make sure I bring that point up a little bit more, kind of more almost rigid or sharp here. I'm still got it pressed into the bottom, pressing onto the table there. Roll that up, set that aside. Now for the tomato and the plum ones, I've just got them rolled into balls, and I'm just gonna leave them like that because I think that that's the shape that we want them to be. So now we're going to work on the eyes. Now I've got a number 12 tip here. I'm just using the top to cut it out of the white fondant, and then just using a ball tool to like kind of pop that out there. Now I'm going to switch to a number 10 tool, or number 10 tip, for the inside of the eye there. I guess that would be the pupil part, and cut out 2 of those. And you're going to need obviously 2 per cropsy. Now I'm just going to use a tiny bit of water in order to get everything to attach to each other, because water in this situation with fondant acts like a little bit of a glue. And I'm just going to use my tool there to place that on top, use that there. And now all we need to add is a little bit of highlight. So you can press those down, make sure they're pressed onto the top there. So to get the highlight, I'm just using a really small tip. It's a number 2. And then I'm just using a kind of like my veining tool, which is quite sharp, to like poke that little bit out. Now the reason that I'm doing that is because what I'm doing is I just want to have like a uniform size at least. So if I can't get it exactly right, I want to at least have the same amount. So I'm just going to press that into place like that. So you'll do that for all of your eyes. And then for the tops of the cropsies that need like the pear here needs a little bit of a top. So what I'm going to do is just take a small amount of the green fondant, like the darker green fondant, and then I'm just going to shape it into like a little kind of a stem here. So I'm just almost like, I want to say sharpening one end, or bringing one end to a point and leaving the other end kind of flat like that. And then I'm going to take just a ball tool, or you can even use a little bit of like this pointy tool here like that, to just put that into there. Then using your paintbrush, or take a little bit of your paintbrush with the water, poke that into there, and then you can take your top and then place it onto there like that. So you do that for the carrot. You need 2 of those for the carrot. You need 1 for the banana. And then for the plum and the tomato, I want to roll out and just make like a little bit more of a flatter leaf. We're going to put 3 of these leaves onto the tomato and 1 onto the plum. So I've got my leaf there. Now I just need a little bit of water again, and just pop that little bit of water on top there. And then I'm just going to place them so that there's 3 of these on top of the tomato. So what we're going to do now is place the eyes onto our cropsies. You're going to need 2 per cropsy, and I just got a little bit of water on the top of the fondant. And I'm going to take my tool here, it's my kind of lifting tool, and then just place those eyes on top. Get down there properly, please. Thank you. There we go. And take the other one and place that on top as well. Then to complete the face, I'm going to use an edible writer to draw on the little face. I've got it turned around for you guys. So this is just an edible, it's a pen and it's edible ink. So I'm just going to take that and just draw that little happy face onto the top of the onto the bottom of the cropsy there. So in the game, when 4 of the cropsies are in a square, they form a super cropsy. So in the center of the cake, I want to have a super cropsy. Now you could make any of these cropsies into the super cropsy, and I'm going to do the pear one. So what I've got here is a large piece of fondant, and I'm just going to take a little bit off because I want to leave a little bit for the mouth. So I'm just rolling it, getting it nice and worked together, because you want to have as few any like lines or any markings as you can. Now I'm going to work it up into that pear shape here, like this, working that around. And then I'm going to shape it and kind of try to smooth that out a bit with your fingers, and like that. Then on the top, I'm going to add the little stem with some of the dark green. So I'm just going to put that on there. We're going to shape that part here. And I'm just doing the exact same thing that I did with the smaller version, just making it into a super version. So putting this down here, just going to use that tool to make a little bit of a divot there. And then take a little bit of water into there. Make sure we have enough that it's going to stick together. Put that in here. And then for the eyes, I'm just going to do the same thing, but I'm using the other ends of the tip. So this is a number 12. I'm going to cut out 2 eyes using that number 12. And then I need to poke that out there. Just have to find. I'm going to use this toothpick here to kind of coax it out that bottom there. Poking, poking, poking. There we go. And cut out a second one. And again, use the toothpick to cut it out. Now I'm going to use the other end of this tip, which is again this one. We're just going to poke that out with the into the brown there. Cut that one out. Cut that one out. And poke that out like that. And then using a little bit of the water, we're just going to attach that pupil. And again, I'm just doing the exact same thing that I was going to do that I did on the little mini cropsies here. Poke those, press those ones on there like that. And then using the smaller, this is like a number, what number are we here? Number 6. I just want to make my little highlighted piece. Poke that out and poke that out again. And then using a little bit of water, let's attach those again. And then all the pieces for this super cropsy are ready. So all you have to do is put on the eyes. And I'm going to also put on the mouth. Now this time for the super cropsy, I do want a little bit more of the definition of the mouth. So what I'm going to do is take a small piece of this lime green fondant, and I'm just going to shape it into, you don't want too much. You don't want it to be too like bulbing out of his face or anything. I'm just going to shape this into kind of like a little mouth shape that they have. And then I'm going to place that onto the little pear cropsy here like that. And then I'm going to use a little bit of water. Actually, these might be still sticky enough that they might get away with not having to use water. And then just press those on in place for that cropsy. So that's how you make the super cropsy. Once we have all the pieces made for the cake, we can start assembling everything on top. So I've got my longer strip here to place into the middle. And if your fondant is still sticky at the back, it should be just fine. You can just set it on there. And then I'm going to put the 2 across the sides. So I'm just using a fondant tool to pick these up. Just want to line that up and then line up the other side as well. Now what I've done with the little patches where the cropsies are going to sit is I've just attached the green piece. Just trying to get this a little bit better lined up there. I've attached the green pieces to the actual brown pieces that we cut out, and I'm just lifting those up, and you can put those in place right in that area there like that. And then along the side, what I'm going to do is place the bushes. So I've got some water on the back, and I'm just going to place the bushes on place. And you can use all sorts of different sizes of the bushes like we talked about. So you want to finish off the top and go all the way around the outside with the bushes. So to finish off the cake, we're going to add a little bit of this chocolate buttercream just to the path here. We're just going to give it a little bit more kind of like texture. I keep saying that word, but it is, so it's just like multi-dimensional rather than just like this flat piece of fondant here. So I'm just using an offset spatula and kind of like splattering it here, like you sometimes find on those old houses in the ceilings there. So I'm just doing that here, covering this up. And then once, I'll do like all of it obviously, but then once I've got this one filled here, I'm going to take some of that chocolate, those crushed chocolate Oreos, and I'm going to put those onto the path as well, because that's really going to give it like that dirt look that we want from a garden. I'm just going to sprinkle that dirt on here. And then you can press it in. I found that if you pressed it in a little bit, it kind of like made it stick a little bit better like that and kind of made it look more realistic again. So make sure you finish off all 4 of all these over here too. And then what I'm going to move on to is taking my green buttercream, and I've got it with a grass tip, and I'm just going to squeeze and then slightly pull away there. So I'm just going to make like a grass lining all the way around the outside of the top of this cake. And while I've got the grass and the buttercream nice and soft, I'll add some of these sugar flowers that I have. So I'm going to put a sugar flower just kind of up here in the top in the corner to add a little bit of color. Now the cropsies are going to go onto the top of the cake, and you can put them on their little spots here. You can arrange them however you want to. And then my super cropsy is going to go in the middle here. My little giant super pear. And then on the side is where I'm going to put my flower cropsy. Now for the flower cropsy, I've got a little strip of just light green fondant, and I'm going to put it on there. Press that onto the side. Need some more water, that's not sticking. Make sure you've got enough water so it does stick there. There we go. And then, oh, I touched it one too many times. And then just put some water on the back of the flower one. And if you need, you can even use a toothpick to help put these into place. But because they are a little bit heavy, sometimes they need a little bit more reinforcement with a toothpick. So we're just going to put the cropsies all around the top of the cake and the side of the cake. Whoop, and I think I'm going to put that toothpick in. So I'll just show you how to do that. So just put that into the cake there like that, and then press the head into there like that, and that will help hold up the cropsy. Thanks so much for watching, and best of luck in the contest for the iPad. Let me know in the comments which cropsy you would make into the super cropsy in the middle of the cake. See you guys all again next time.